Hello, my friends. There's always a delay, so I never come on screen right away. So I'm gonna wait here. Oh, I see myself. Okay. So hi everybody. Again, of course, I had some minor technical issues. What's new? Okay, let me just do some technical things here. Okay, I think that's okay. Hello everybody. So first check, sound check. Can you hear me well? Is the sound okay? Lower, higher? Please inform me how you can hear me. Okay, thank you, Eva Carolina. Sound and image okay. Okay, I'm not going to bore you with this. Just a quick information here. No, the technical issue is that I have a internet at 700, more or less. I even checked it half an hour before the live, and then as soon as I open my OBS studio and put the microphone pending, coming soon, it dropped to like 30. So that's why I was doing tests. I'm like, what the hell now? Like, I don't know if it's a OBS studio that is drawing. I don't know much about this, but it just went down drastically. So I hope it's going to be okay during this live. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to start fast, okay, quickly, because I have a lot of stuff to go through, and I'm going to try to make this live swift, because there is so much to go through. Hello everybody in the chat. Hello to all the moderators. Hello to the newest moderator, Priya. Hi. Don't worry, moderators, by the way. This is not some kind of, just because you have a blue wrench, it doesn't mean you were supposed to be here and doing work. You do whatever you want. This is completely voluntary. Don't worry. Just whenever you can, you do your stuff. Okay, let me just, my mom is texting me, messaging me. Okay, because I'm gonna see her soon, because I'm gonna be in Poland very, very, very soon for the festival there. I'm leaving on the 27th of June, coming back 6th of July. It's gonna be some kind of a festival where I will be speaking. I was invited, and also I'm gonna take advantage of the situation. I actually invited my mom to come there as well, so she's gonna be there. She's gonna actually see me in action for the first time ever. Like, she's gonna see me on stage and speak. This is, I think, unbelievable to her. So we are arranging stuff with that. Okay, so now let me let me divide the screen, and let's start with the material and with everything we have to go through. I must say that I actually dug myself into quite a big rabbit hole with this whole topic. I've had this topic in my mind for quite some time already, to do the summary of different agendas that we and Mari Swaruu have covered. But as I was preparing for this live, I realized there's just so much information and so many different agendas, and I'm not going to be able to mention them all. I'm not going to be able to even go through them all in detail, just trying to give an overall picture. Also, I'm going to use code words. So some of these agendas, some of these words, I will say, for example, I will first interject with something else. Like I would say global 1, 2, 3 blah blah warming, or and then I will replace that word with something else. We'll see how that goes. Now, in the beginning of this video, I must go through some reasons why it is important. Why it is important to look at some of these agendas and be aware of what's happening, because many people still doubt the importance of that. They believe we are not supposed to look at anything negative, because that's when we manifest it even more. And as you know, as we expressed ourselves, Mari expressed herself also on this topic, we do believe strongly that it's important to be aware of what's happening. Now, what is this word agenda? Agenda, of course, it means different things, like what's on your agenda today. It means what's in your plans. But here we are going to be referring to agenda as a secret reason for something. So your grandma is coming, but her secret agenda is actually spying on your boyfriend, like something like that, something secret. So starting with the whole fact, starting with the notion, many people say that we are negative because we are looking at all these different agendas. Well, we believe that only knowing about these different things, we can stand up to them, and we can stand up to the Cabal. We believe strongly it's part of the awakening process, waking up from the matrix, to wake up to some of these shady things that are going on. When you wake up, like Matrix, in the movie Matrix, like Neo did, you don't only realize, wow, my potential and my power and beautiful reality, but you also wake up to deceptions, to manipulations, to what the reality really is on Earth. Because on Earth, unfortunately, it is not as it seems. It's a layer upon a layer, matrix of lies upon another matrix of lies. So when you wake up, process of awakening, waking up, is also waking up to that. So then we can stand up against that, say no, not consent, and be properly educated. It's kind of like when you go to the doctor and the doctor gives you a diagnosis. Sounds like someone is vacuuming. Is that referring to me, to my audio? I'll just look at the chat. Everything is okay? Maybe my fan in the computer, that's the only thing that is on. A quick sound check. Everything okay? Just tell me yes or no. Because I'm not going to be looking much at the chat. Oh, I have the chat on my screen, but I have to look at my notes to go through this swiftly. I know I am behind here. I mean, the chat is behind what I'm saying, so I have to wait a little bit. Is this sound okay? Can you hear me? It is fine, happy girl. Okay, thank you. No vacuum, all good. Okay, it may be my fan because it's pretty hot. The computer has a built-in fan. So it's kind of like you go to the doctor and you want a diagnosis for what's wrong with you in order to get better, because you know there is something that is not working properly, right, with you. So they up there, us here through this channel, Mari Swaruu channel, we are kind of playing a role of a doctor, diagnosing all these different problems so we can heal. So we can heal. Ourselves, sometimes we are unable to notice all these different things that are happening, and the doctor comes in. Well, whether this is a matrix doctor or no matrix, that's another story, but you know what I mean. I'm here bringing up the point that we should be grateful to them, but helping us to connect the dots, that sometimes people can't even see themselves. They can't know what's wrong with them, because obviously there is something wrong with the society, right? You can't deny that. You cannot say everything is perfectly right and beautiful. Something is wrong, right? So they are helping us to see what is wrong. They are helping us to see all these seemingly separated agendas so that we can try to heal the society and move it towards another direction. So is the doctor negative for giving you a diagnosis, for pointing things out that are not right within your body? Well, no, doctor is just a doctor. So they're not negative. They are not coming up with these agendas. They are not imposing them on the people. They are not the ones doing that to the people. They are just telling people what is being done to them so they can wake up and they can try to say no. Now, I'm going to read some quotes here. This is a quote. I'm not sure by whom, but let me read that. Be aware that everything official on earth has a false narrative behind, and a reason to be so. Everything that is going on is synchronized. It is all related to one another, and nothing is only by chance. But the general population cannot see the entire picture because it is designed that way. It is designed that way, not to see all these different agendas and things happening. So let's be grateful to them, because them, from the higher perspective, they can see, they can have a better view, they can have better picture of what's happening, and they are giving us this information so we can be aware. Now here at this point, I will quote Zael. Zael, in one of his videos, said something I like, and it is the video called "Ruler's Advantage, Does Good Always Win?" And he said sometimes we don't want to look at what's negative, as it would mean admitting that we manifested it, that it's in us, right? Like if we admit that something is wrong, something is negative, well, that would automatically mean, well, we are manifesting that in our reality. So many people want to prefer not to see that. They would prefer everything is great and beautiful, because they believe, oh, that's going to be a reflection of who they are, because they are beautiful and positive. So that's the reason why they don't want to look. But he explains that seeing that, it doesn't have to define you. And there are multiple reasons why something negative is in your reality. That's another topic, but it doesn't have to define you. Or actually, it might define you by showing you what not to be. So in a way, it is showing you, reflecting what you are not and what you do not want to be. So in that sense, yes. Another topic, another point, and why there is agenda of leading the New Age movement away from looking at things, is because many of these secret entities, including astral entities, they don't want to be seen. That's the whole agenda and the purpose of injecting the New Age community with this. Don't look at the negative, because they don't want to be seen, so that they can continue manipulate and abuse people. Another quote. There is a group of entities, human and other, that do control what occurs on Earth from the shadows, and have been controlling the human population for at least a few thousands of years, so they can exploit them as a resource, and also so they won't go and rebel. They do not want to be seen, so that you do not rebel. So that's another very important reason why we have to be aware of these things. It's kind of like, okay, I'm going to start the agenda soon, but another example. It's like a toxic relationship, right? Where there is a person in the toxic relationship that refuses to see what's negative in the relationship and just focuses on the flowers that my husband brings me on Saturdays, but other times of the day he abuses me. Or vice versa, of course. The reverse happens as well, where the woman is abusive, but let's not focus on that. She really takes care of me. She makes me soup. Okay? And we are telling that person from the outside, wake up, respect yourself. You need to look at what's wrong with your relationship. Don't let yourself continue to be abused. So it's the same here. It's the same here. There's an abuse happening, but we prefer to be silent. We prefer not to see that. And they continue abusing us. It's like a toxic relationship. So we have to stand up to the abuse so we can solve it. Like this husband or a wife needs to see what's wrong with the relationship in a realistic way, not delusional way, but realistic way, so the problem can be solved, which sometimes means taking yourself away from that relationship. Now, Yaski made a video, or I made a video with Yaski information some time ago, and it was War for the Human Souls. By the way, I'm going to be pulling up these thumbnails as I speak, so you will know which videos I'm referring to. Yaski made this video, War for the Human Souls, and where it was explained what's happening and why it is so important to be aware of these different things, because there is a war for human souls and minds happening on all levels, astral, physically, all levels. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. So standing up is very important, refusing to participate. Now, some of you will ask, what can be done about these different agendas? I'm going to start talking about the agenda soon. What can be done? Refusing to participate, being aware, and as much as possible, refuse to participate, inform others, and otherwise, other agendas, like, for example, with the aircraft contaminants, well, not much can be done. They can't even do much sometimes from their side. However, saying no, even metaphysically, intentionally, etherically, as a soul, is very important. Even though you feel you cannot do anything about these agendas physically, like, what can I do? You know, I'm just living here in Copenhagen and there's not much I can practically do against this. Well, with your intention, metaphysically, saying no is also very important. And here I will quote Swaruu. And she said this: "And no, with enough force and conviction, stops everything, because otherwise it would go against the universal laws of free will. The fact that you ignore negative agendas, even though they are not within your attention, creation of reality, it does affect you, because everyone has tactical agreements, unconscious and also prenatal agreements, that make you vulnerable and susceptible to many negative agendas. And to continue like this in ignorance and thinking that if I do not see it, it doesn't exist in my reality, it is an ostrich attitude. The realization of what happens, and then to firmly have the conviction that it is not desired in your reality, under universal laws of free will, you will have the ability to deactivate such agreements." Swaruu of Erna. Very important. So don't think you have no power just because you feel you cannot do something against these agendas. Remember that at Cabal and in the end the Federation, which is of course at the top of everything, cannot impose things if people do not cooperate. If they do not cooperate physically and also etherically as souls. There is no greater slave that doesn't know he is one. And after this grand introduction to why it is important to look at all these different agendas, let me begin now the agendas. Some of them. Okay. Let's look at the chat very fast to confirm everything is okay. I think so, because I still see myself rambling. I have myself muted, but I see myself and I see the chat going. Okay. Thank you very much, Vicky Campbell. Yes, great advice from Swaruu. Now, as you know, I'm not going to go into details about some of these obvious things. Reality at large, as it is seen on Earth, on our dear planet, is based on lies. They are based on more lies, and Mari talks about this a lot. Now, very important point. The controllers, whoever, use many agendas that add up to influence the human society. Many agendas. The final goal for those agendas, that's also a separate topic. It could be just for the control, of course, causing suffering. Even though the Federation says that the suffering's for the souls, that's what they want. However, as we know, we are suspecting here there is something else going on here to do with the astral entities, not so astral entities, negative ones. And, reduction of blah, 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 blah population. I will call them two-legged creatures. Reduction of two-legged creatures. Okay? 1, 2, 3, humans. Reduction of two-legged creatures. That's one of the biggest agendas here, but there is much more. Now, I will go very fast, like one sentence, because it's very obvious through some of these most obvious agendas, which is religions, science, money, All that you can listen to in detail in Mari's videos. Of course, religions, one of the hugest agenda, most universal one and obvious one. It's to keep the people who know there is more within the certain contained spaces and cages. Because, as Mari also said in one of her videos here about religions, it's not that those people who are following religions are completely wrong. They know there is something more to life. They know they are souls. They know there is life after death. But now that innate to all Lyrians feeling has been taken advantage of, typical of the Cabal, using innate, natural, and good aspects of the soul people, and direct that into somewhere else. Okay, that is a typical pattern of what they do, which we'll see throughout this video. So they take that innate feeling that people have that there is something more, and they direct that feeling into a controlled dogmatic structure, religious dogma. That is the best way to mind control and guide the perception of the general population. And also science, okay? This is also very obvious to you. I'm going to go through this very fast. It popped up as a countermeasure to religions in some time in the past. And of course, the controllers had to regulate that too. They always have to regulate everything. Every social movement, we will go through that as well. They will need to regulate that and direct it into where they want it to go. They will need to be the final authority deciding what's real, what's not real. So they started to regulate science as well. Money, of course, the primordial and the strongest control mechanism on Earth. And Mari says this is even stronger than religions. And it goes all the way to the Galactic Federation as well. She explains in one of these videos how the Galactic Federation actually controls the money movement and the money flow on Earth. You'll be surprised. I was surprised myself when she explains how the Galactic Federation actually controls what country and what region is going to receive what amount of money and economic growth. It's all a theater. It's crazy. So, because these agendas are very big and very obvious, I'm going to move on to the next ones. Click, click, click. Thank you very much. Now, one of the very, 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 very obvious also agendas is managing the UFO circles. And this is very important as well. And people need to realize that there is matrix behind the matrix. We've talked about this before. Mari talks about this as well. People waking up, because people are and have been waking up, where do they go? Where they want to learn something, where they go to all these alternative so-called circles. And of course, the three-letter agencies and the controllers having their what I was gonna say, fingernails. I don't know, whatever kind of limbs they have, human and non-human limbs. They have those in every movement there is on Earth, and that includes especially the UFO and New Age movements, because this is where the awakening people go. I know you are bored hearing me talk about this, because I've talked about this many times, but you have to be aware that the UFO field is infiltrated, very much so. Especially in the last 50 or 60 years or so, when the internet and the cameras exploded, so people began to take pictures everywhere, and the UFO sightseeings everywhere, and share that around the internet with their photography and videos. So of course they have to control it at all costs. The truth is reaching out. So they need to get in there to control that field, very much so. As Mari here said, something important you should know is that they dedicate only from 10 to 15% of their time and resources to doing actual espionage, talking about three-letter agencies, only 10 to 15, and the remaining 85 to 90% of their energy is dedicated to manipulating the general population in favor of the agendas the Cabal's overlords desire. So you have to be very aware of that. Another topic, how do we know you are not infiltrated? Well, you don't know. I'm not going to go through that right now because that is a separate question to answer, and it is for you to answer. So I encourage you to sit on that, to sit on that question and try to answer yourself. Now, another agenda that is just so ridiculous that I'm not even going to speak much about that because it bores me so much is this one. What's with the flat earth? What's with the flat earth? Seriously? I mean, each time I see anybody mention that is like I can't even fathom. It's like someone would tell me that the earth is made of Legos, which Yaski would be excited about, and for sure she would tell us if that was the case. But it's like I'm not even going to talk on that level because it seems to me so absurd, and it is obviously the controller's false lead. It is a false lead. It is a false lead because, again, people are waking up and they are realizing the official truths are false. So, of course, what is one of the greatest official truths? The earth is round. Well, if everything is false, because even we say that pretty much everything is false, well, then it has to be the opposite of that. It has to be flat. But no, that is a false lead that the controllers have injected there to confuse the awakening people, because one of their agendas here is to confuse the people and have them fight and have them all always in duality at the throats, deciding what's real, what's not. And I'm sure they are laughing their butts off, sitting there at the background somewhere in their bunkers. How many people actually fell for that? So it's a goose chase, okay? You're not going to get anywhere with that. So let's continue from that agenda. Now, the next one is interesting one. I don't have a thumbnail for that. But, of course, the Galactic Federation of Light. The Galactic Federation of Light. Liberating the planet from all evil forces. While it is them, the Galactic Federation themselves, who have the ultimate control. It is the ultimate game here being played. Now, I'm not sure exactly at what level of the control mechanism and a control structure this whole Galactic Federation of Light concept started. I think it was mentioned some time ago that it started somewhere on a little above human, deep shadow Cabal level, but we don't know for sure. I don't know for sure. I'm not sure now. I don't remember if it was said by Mari at what level that was invented. However, also to mention that all these people channeling Galactic Federation of Light, for example, it could be referring to the higher entities and the higher densities. So Mari talks about this as well, where she tries to make people aware that we cannot just throw all these different galactic federations into the same basket, because what some people could be tapping into and interpreting that as a galactic federation is something of higher densities, because the Galactic Federation extends into other densities as well, and of course there are positive factions as well. So a lot of that could be that as well. As I said, I have to go swiftly through all these different agendas. This is going to get interesting, so stay tuned. These are just some of the most general ones that I went through so far. It's going to get more specific. Now, we have to talk about that one. And it is, of course, the topic of the AI. And the topic of AI is talked about, and we know a lot about this, of course. And we have a video made by Swaruu, where she talks a lot. But this was in the very beginning of our work, where she talks about clones, artificial souls, artificial intelligence, chips, papayas even, she mentioned in that video. And it is explained, and Mari Swaruu also talks about this, that the AI, it has its place, of course, especially nowadays with all these different tools, okay, it has its place, but it is deeply and dangerously linked to the trans blah 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 1 2 3 humanism. I would call it beyond humanism from now on. Beyond humanism. And why beyond humanism? Because the definition of that word, I actually looked it up, is this. It is the belief that the human race can evolve beyond its current physical and mental limitations, especially by means of science and technology. And it is pushing the idea that humankind, the human body and biology are flawed and outdated and need to be enhanced or even replaced with better systems, such as the incorporation of mechanical and computer chip brain enhancement systems. This is like a very generic explanation of what beyond humanism is, and this is official. This is like from the official websites. But it has a lot to do with a negative, invasive AI. And the video that I have on the screen right now goes a lot into that. So check it out. I have an AI playlist where actually I'm combining, all my playlists combine the videos that we have in the past and Mari Swaruu's videos on the same topic. So go to that playlist and you will see many details in the topic of regressive AI. And it is a replacement of, in a very basic way, of human creative resources. And Mari talks about this a lot, even in the last video where she described immersion technologies and quantum technology, how in their society they have already realized that they have to put healthy limits on that, because in itself it is a tool, but it has a very negative threat to this in the sense that it is tapping into taking away our creative resources and energy. And what is a creative energy? It is manifestation. It is manifestation power. Creativity is the quality of the soul. So it seems like one of the agendas here is to disconnect us further from our creative abilities, to disconnect us from our soul. And soul, that's connection to source. Source, that's creativity. Source, that's creation. Source, that's manifestation. Manifestation is creation. And they want to turn us into these cyborgs with no connection to source, still sort of biological in a way, but with a limited connection to source if they manage to take away our creativity. So it's not the AI in itself that is something bad, because they use AI in their society a lot. It is what is behind, who is behind, what agenda it is implemented with. And as you know, the controllers on Earth are nothing but are not positive. So the creation of that AI will be a reflection of that, because as they always say, the AI will always be the reflection of the society that created it. That's why in their society the AI is positive. It reflects the designer's intentions, the designer's mind. It is very in some symbiosis with them. And here, unfortunately, there are other agendas. And here we have Mari Swaruu's video, which she also goes into the artificial intelligence, so you can go into that. Swaruu of Erra once said that negative extraterrestrial AI, here in this video, she said that. 1 second. She said that here, actually. Huh? 1 second. Oh, I'm not sure if I have that thumbnail. Okay, it doesn't matter. Negative extraterrestrial AI is the biggest threat to humanity. This is what she said. So, for example, I hate, like seriously, I have a aversion to chat GPT idea. I haven't even used it, not even once. And I have aversion to it already. Like, makes me throw up. And the sentences that I saw that it creates, it just right away, it just reeks soulless existence. I can smell it. Like one sentence, I can know this is written by the AI. Now, I know it can be useful. And with that said, I'm going to tell you that one of our supporters, he's a Polish man. Hello, Mariusz, by the way. He sent me an email recently and said that he designed a custom-based OpenAI ChatGPT based on Taigetan transcripts from our website. Okay, I tried it. It's actually pretty helpful. It's pretty helpful for my interviews because I can pull up the information very fast. So I recognize there is a use to that. But for example, if you can still create something yourself, for example, I know a person, I'm not going to say who, in my personal life, who writes emails using AI. Like what? You cannot come up with an email yourself? Like you cannot even tap into your own mental resource to write a sentence? Why? I used AI for the images, for example, in my videos. I am unable to do that. I cannot do those images. It would take me forever to learn and to do that. So I decorate my videos with that. Mari Swaruu also is limited by the voice regulations, so she has to use that as well. Like if you absolutely have to, of course, as a tool, but not for absolutely everything where you can do something yourself, like write an email. That's just too much. Now, be aware, and Mari explained this in her videos, that what they are working on is the AI that is a two-way interface. It's not just... Let me just maybe read this because I have this. This is from her video, and she explains how in Antarctica, when they had those meetings some time ago, this year, one of the topics they were discussing in Antarctica was beyond humanism. This is what she said. They are set to meet, I think she was referring to a Thorthans meeting in Antarctica with Cabal Earth leaders. They are set to meet with several technology tycoons to talk about advanced telecommunication and AI and how it is best to use on Earth. I can't help but suspect that they are setting up a much more efficient mind control system on Earth, as they are also talking about beyond humanism to implement mind-to-machine communication interfaces. Now, important. Nearly no one is warning the population that such systems, in reality, mean machine-to-man communication interfaces. What I mean is that the communication and the commands flow in both directions. As man can control machine, so can machine control man at the command of whoever is controlling such machines. So they are trying to create one of their agendas, because they always have many, many agendas. They are trying to create these cyborgs, turn us into some cyborgs with some sort of connection to source, still with some sort of biology. However, the danger here is that the soul may retract from that kind of existence, because the soul needs to be creative, like I said. And creative, it doesn't mean you need to be an artist or Picasso, okay? Don't think that you don't have a soul because you don't think you are creative in any walk of life. It can be anything. Actually creating a sentence, speaking and formulating your thoughts, you are also tapping into your creativity or imagination, or thinking about your trip. You're creating something. So creativity is very important because it is related to manifestation capacity. So don't give up on that. Don't lose that. I could go on and on about this, but I have to go through other agendas, so let's continue. Now, let's go to the chat. Short break. 459 people in the chat. Thank you very much, guys, for being here. I'm trying to talk pretty fast, but not too fast, so I can go through all these different things. I cannot look at your questions now, so if you are asking questions, maybe you can answer among each other, but I'm unable to answer the questions right now. Okay, now, the next agenda is also something you are very much aware of. However, Mari mentioned interesting pieces of information here, interesting details. And this is the aircraft exhaust contaminants. Aircraft exhaust contaminant. This is also a code word for you know what, okay? Look at the picture and then you will understand. Now, Mari explains in this video that not all of them that look like it are it. And you need to be aware of that. Just because you see something in the sky, it doesn't right away mean that's what it is. Because actually many extraterrestrials take samples of that. They do. And it is very normal. Very normal. However, this very normal effect is used to mask other agendas very often. Like, you know, a lot of chemicals. This is a very well-known phenomenon for you, so I'm going to skip through these basics, but I will tell you something interesting towards the end here. So, as you know, there are many agendas here with the aircraft exhaust contaminants. Many, many, many. There isn't just one agenda for anything. They always apply many. Some here intentions are for weather modification, yes, cloud seeding, this is very obvious as well, very known. And for heavier stuff, they use actually dedicated aircraft, and this includes military aircraft. So she is explaining how many of these commercial jets, some of them probably are quite innocent, because for the heaviest stuff they use military craft. And as you know, they put all kinds of things in there, graphene strands with nanotechnology, and it is falling on Earth, on all biology. And it is said here, it is falling on all biology, making it more reactive to electromagnetic waves sent, for example, through telecommunication towers. To make us all reactive, more reactive to electromagnetic waves sent through telecommunication towers, for example. To control more weak-minded. If you are strong-minded, high frequency and all that, strong will, strong intention, strong centered energy field, well, it's not going to be that easy for them to influence you. That's why she mentioned more weak-minded, including animals. Because, as I said, it falls on all biology, including animals. For example, do you remember animals going in circles? Well, it could be a testing of that. They could have been testing that technology. Now, this is very important, also super interesting fact. It is connecting the negative regressive AI with biology, so they can control it all better, but that includes also plants. And Mari Swaruu mentions that it's not just about beyond humanism, but it is about beyond biology. Trans, blah, 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 1, 2, 3, biology. Beyond biology. And it does relate to the black goo. This relates to the black goo. And Swaruu years ago, she made this big article about this topic. The topic here you have on the screen. I'm not going to say this. It could be a dangerous word. So look it up, because it does relate to that as well, to the aircraft exhaust contaminants, black goo. as I said, as I was doing preparation for this, I realized there is just so much that it is unbelievable. Now, it goes deeper than that. Okay? Now, this is going to be an interesting piece of fact that even was surprising to me. Mari Swaruu explains that the Galactic Federation is involved here. In other words, it's not only Cabal doing this, but basically the Galactic Federation itself has its tentacles in this. And she explains, like, for example, in the myths in the past or in the stories in the past, you could see and read and hear about gods changing the weather, right? The gods were manipulating the weather, controlling. Hurricanes and other phenomena have always been controlled by the non-humans. Well, that is actually a reality. Galactic Federation, not only the Cabal and aggressives, they also have their say here. And of course, many times it is said that they are helping and easing through many cataclysmic events. They do, but they also are responsible for causing many of them or modifying them as to their agenda. So some of this aircraft contamination cannot be done, Mari Swaruu explains, by simple commercial or even military aircraft. Some of it, what's in that, is so advanced that it can only be done by the extraterrestrial technology, by starships. So those aircraft contaminants are not just done by the Cabal, but by the starships. And this is very, very, very surprising, even to me. Now, this is a very complex subject because many of these aircraft contaminants are actually counteracted by the starships. And many positive ones do the positive actions there to counteract what's there. But on other occasions, they are behind them. And it goes back to ancient times. Mari Swaruu explains this in this video. That this goes back in this video. In this video, she explains that this goes back to the ancient times. And it has to do with giving the people the experience they want. They want tough and difficult challenges and life. And so we need to make it difficult for them in all ways possible. But that's the excuse, of course, as we know, as we suspect. So as Mari explains, commercial airlines mostly are not at fault. The UFOs are. Could you imagine that? And sometimes using a commercial ones is only a cover. So the topic is very, very complex here. Do check that video out as it is very interesting. Now, of course, what they sprinkle there, all these different people, all the way up to the Federation, it depends on each different agenda each time. And there are many, some of them even for blocking the sunlight. It could be even just for blocking the sunlight because there are huge agendas and stories around sun and solar flashes as well. That's another interesting topic here. So let's go to the topic of solar flashes. I'm not going to bore you with that, don't worry. Sun and moon. You already know very well what we think about solar flashes. Let's just take that off the screen. But as you know, we don't think this is anything unusual. Solar flashes. They're always using that as a story in the New Age circles. That something is happening, something is wrong with the sun. Nothing is wrong with the sun. They always tell us this. There's nothing wrong with the sun. As they say, sun is a frequency relay station for energy waves from the center of the galaxy. Solar wind relays and increases the waves that come from the center of the galaxy. So that far is true. But what comes out of the sun is not harmful. So they're always blaming the sun for everything. They say, and I'm going to quote this, the sun is bad, that it produces cancer, that it leaves you blind, that it produces global blah, 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 blah. that it is about to eliminate everyone with an electronic flare with a magnetic pulse. And they say nothing about the moon. It is totally reverse. They are drawing your attention away from the moon, where the really bad stuff is happening, and from where the bad stuff is happening, to the sun. There is nothing wrong with the sun, and that is the beneficial one. Being in the sun nourishes the cells, restores them, gives subtle energies of DNA activation, and with it healing, and also development of extrasensory actions. So it is the sun that is the positive one and not the moon, and they are always having a beef with the sun. So that's it about the solar flashes and all that, because that's a very boring subject to me myself, because it has been talked about many, many, many times. Now another agenda here related to what we just talked about in the last two agendas is this one. As I said, even the Galactic Federation has its fingers in this. The creation of artificial weather. I'm going to call this weather maneuvering. So I don't call attention of any algorithms here. Weather maneuvering. Weather maneuvering. So from the simple cloud seeding, of course, microwave technology such as HARP. By the way, they explained that the original installations have been replaced by mobile military vehicles. So all these different levels of weather maneuvering. And now another level, the deepest level, is the technology above human, the Federation level. So again, the Federation is involved because some of these technologies are above human. And these technologies include all the above methods that I just mentioned, plus modulated gravity beams. So the weather is maneuvered in a very, very sophisticated way. Because people often ask, how is it possible to create this or that, or do this and that? It is. The Cabal itself has the technology to do these basic maneuverings, but then we have very sophisticated technology that is also being applied since ancient times. Gods creating hurricanes. And she explains, she says, these controls are large. The modulated gravity beams. These controls are large three-dimensional holograms of global weather patterns in full color, which can be modified at will by moving the holographic objects by hand wherever you want, or simply by thinking where you want it if you have the mind-to-machine interface activated. That's insane. And she explains that both the Cabal and the Galactic Federation have the technology. For example, if they want to cause earthquakes, both they have technology to map underground tectonic plates with utmost accuracy, and they can map out and cause earthquakes because they know the very weak points and they can send shock waves there. So this goes very deep with all these agendas. It's all connected. It's all to do with manipulation of the life experience on Earth, causing suffering, causing experiences for Earth, controlling the humans in their potential, reducing the two-legged creatures, the number of them, etc. So Mari explains that most weather phenomena are natural. Okay, let's not go crazy. Many of them are natural, but are modified. And many times that modification is done in such an advanced way, like I said, with the extraterrestrial technology as well, that it's hard to distinguish if it's normal or artificial. Even sometimes for them, it could be difficult, as I understand, because the level of sophistication of these technologies is so advanced. And many times these phenomena are normal but potentialized. Again, what can I do about this? Why do I have to hear about this? There's not much we can really do about those types of agendas. But as I said, here applies the metaphysical awareness and the metaphysical no. The metaphysical I do not consent. Because if they are claiming, the Federation, that this is what the souls want, well, connect with your higher self. Because, okay, they are saying it is what the souls want from the other side. Well, but we are always our other side. Even here, our 3D, supposed 3D experience, we are also 5D, 7D, we are source. So connect with your higher self and inject that field with the intention no. And that intention will have to spread by the etheric fields, and you will link up with other souls who are linking up with others and other densities in that no to all these agendas and creating something else will have to reach where it's supposed to reach. And they will have to listen. They will have to eventually pay attention. They cannot hide behind that excuse of this is what the souls want. Maybe some of the souls might want that. It depends, but the majority doesn't. Now, okay, this also has to do with this agenda, which I will bring up on the screen. And we made a video about this a few years ago. And it was explained that there is no such a thing as a atmosphere change, code word, atmosphere change, climate, blah, 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 1, 2, 3, change. But rather, it is a destruction of ecosystems. It is environmental destruction. And they explain how it cannot be confused with the atmosphere change. And that environmental destruction is caused by the Cabal themselves. There is no global blah blah 1 2 3 blah blah 1 2 3 warming, which by the way it was then changed to the global change, I think. They explain that it is all natural cycles, that the climate in general is never static. It is always changing. And it is always going to be different. It goes through different cycles. So they are going to use that, even if there are some cycles that are different, they are going to use that against the people again, blame the people. As Mari said, they have the technologies to fix that, even if there was something fixable. They have a technology to fix that, but they are not providing that for the people. Instead, they are making people guilty and impose on them agendas such as, for example, electric cars that are supposedly fixing that. And on the topic of electric cars, that's another agenda. And Mari, and we also did videos on that, talks about the agenda of electric vehicles. And she explains there is nothing intrinsically wrong with electric vehicles. They have electric vehicles in Taygeta and they run on free energy. There's nothing wrong with the idea itself. But again, it is not about, like with the AI, it's not about that concept itself. It's what is behind it, what it is used for. What's the agenda behind it? So here the supposed idea is to save the planets because they are blaming the humans, while it is them that are withholding technologies, which was explained in Mari video, Interstellar Humans. So Mari explains that they want to ban all internal combustion cars by 2035. And the plan here is to reduce mobility because few people will be able to use them and the rest will have to use public transport. So that's one thing, control people there. Because you are free. When you have your vehicles, you can roam, whatever you can. I don't have a car, by the way, and I also feel free. So it's not necessarily that if you have to have a car to feel free, but you know what I mean. The electric cars have a lot of limitations, and it is explained in this video, and it is also related to connecting the people to the grid, because they can shut it off anytime they want. So they will be dependent on the system. It's about making people more reliant on the system, plus monitoring them. All these electrical systems, electronics there, have to do with monitoring as well. There's just so many of these different agendas, and I know you know all this, but I'm doing my best to kind of summarize it all, because there's a lot of things, and a lot of these things, all of these things, are connected. People never see them as a connected grid of agendas, and that's how it is designed. Okay, let me just go to the chat very fast. Thank you very much, everybody in the chat. Okay, let me go on. This way people have continuation. Now, another huge topic is this. Oh, I don't have a thumbnail on that. Okay, is this. I'm going to use another code word for this, and I'm going to say atomic kitten scare. Atomic kitten. So they are trying to scare people, and this has to do with fear again. Fear is a huge agenda that we already know what it is for, why it is generated in the society. But it has to do with instilling this fear into the people. There's going to be this global termination of everything. And Mari is explaining that this is not in their interest. This is not in their interest, so you have nothing to worry about. It is also not in the interest of those entities that the Cabal controllers worship. They still need people here. They cannot just eliminate everybody. They need to, in a sense, have someone here. So localized conflicts to do even maybe with atomic kitten here and there, it might be of their interest, but not overall. So it's all theater, basically. And another agenda related to this is this, that I have this on my screen. Mari made a video on this too, but I don't have a thumbnail. It disappeared for some reason. Mari Swaruu and Anneka a while ago explained the real agenda behind the atomic kitten plants. The nuclear blah 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 atomic kitten plants. And they explained, and this was quite explosive information as well, that, for example, if some of them explode, these plants, it's part of the terraforming agenda. And they explain how the Earth, of course, has energy nodes, ley lines. And through these explosions, for example, there, and through these power plants, they produce radiation and low frequencies that are of scalar consequences. So they are limiting the flow of energy, of natural Earth energy, preventing further awakening. They are deteriorating those energy nodes, Earth's energy nodes, to make them compatible with lower astral entities. That's crazy. Can you imagine? Like, let it sit for a while if you haven't seen that video, but I recommend you watch that, because it explains in detail the terraforming agendas behind these atomic kitten plants to make the Earth more compatible with the entities. So again, it has to do with lowering the frequencies to make people make Earth a place that could be more of a match to these negative entities that they are feeding. Again, the Federation has to be aware of all this. Is it really for the soul's growth? Or is it to satisfy the dark overlords, astral and not so astral, that are behind this. Okay, let's go to the next topic and next agenda. That is now quite a sensitive agenda, but agenda it is. I'm going to put it on the screen, and it is that. And a few years ago we made a video, this was done with Swaruu Vera, about the rainbow people. I will call this agenda Rainbow People agenda. Now, the topic is complicated, and we understand that. Soul, of course, has no gender. As we know, soul, in its etheric form, has no gender. But it does have certain preferences, and it usually incarnates according to these preferences. Now, it can switch, of course, here and there. We all have been men, we all have been women, but it normally has a certain tendency to feel affinity with a specific gender. As we know, everybody on Earth incarnates voluntarily. There is nothing out there that is forcing you to incarnate against your will. However, with that being said, it is true that there are manipulations, even on the other side, to make you feel like you have to incarnate again, probably. Some of these manipulations could involve making you believe you should incarnate in another gender. For example, it could be one of the explanations why this is all happening on Earth. Because, by the way, rainbow people phenomenon, let's call it that way, it exists only on Earth. It doesn't exist in space. So some of those manipulations could be happening out there that make people believe or convince people that have the affinity towards certain gender to incarnate in the opposite gender, to repair lessons or whatever. But as you will still have memory of having affinity towards another gender, well, then you will be born here and you'll be confused. So now we don't want to go into the deepest source of why this is happening. But again, it is something taken advantage of by the Cabal. Now, I will share with you my personal story here with this specific situation. When I was in the USA, I lived there when I was 23 years old. I had a roommate, and my roommate was he was a man, but he felt himself to be a woman, and he was my only roommate, and we talked about this many times with him. I could see his suffering, actually, because he was a very sad person. He was not a transgender, but he didn't get to that point, but he was a woman inside. And I could see very closely his pain and his how he was struggling with this. It was very difficult for him. Actually, most of his friends didn't know. So I could personally actually see that this is some kind of an authentic situation going on. And it's not modern either. I recently was in in Naples, and I visited Pompeii, and we saw ancient sites where actually there was a prostitute house, ancient, ruined, but it was told us. We were told by the guide that this was an old prostitute house, and in that prostitute house, she explained, the guide, that that there are also prostitute males, for the rainbow people. I have to use the code. Don't get offended. So this is an ancient thing. something is definitely going on there. Like I said, it could be the manipulation from the other side. It could be souls themselves from some level wanting to have this experience here on Earth because they can't have that outside. It doesn't exist. So I'm not going to go and judge that, the reasons. The point here is that the Cabal, as always, is taking advantage of that, and that's the agenda. So we are not targeting here, the rainbow people in itself. We are targeting the agenda, the same way as we are not targeting the AI idea in the first place. We are targeting the agenda behind it. Just like we are not targeting the innate human feeling that there is more to life than this physicality, we are targeting religions. So you need to separate that, what we are targeting. The Cabal will always use some of these even positive tendencies, like, for example, another one, the memory of not eating meat, and will use that against the people. And the obvious agenda here with that is the reduction of the two-legged creatures. Everything, actually, a lot of these agendas have to do with a reduction of the two-legged creatures. That's a code word. For example, Mari explains that in the aircraft contaminants, barium was found. And barium is very much linked with diminished hormone production. It interferes with testosterone and reduces overall fertility in both men and women. So this agenda, this hidden plan here to reduce the two-legged population has to do with taking to the extremes the rainbow tendencies of the people. The same happens with the social movements, like, for example, the one that has to do with women. You know which one. Again, I have to avoid the words. So they are using that against the people in general. So many of these social movements were designed originally to fight for their rights, because all of them have the rights. The women rights, the rainbow rights, all that. But it was taken to the extremes for the social engineering reasons. And sometimes they even create the problem in the first place, to then take that solution to another extreme for the social engineering reasons. And the gender movements play a huge factor in this, because they took it to such extremes that it's not even possible to talk openly about this or mention this, because you will be viewed as intolerant. That's why I mentioned in the beginning now that this agenda is sensitive, complicated. Cabal will turn everything against the people. Any positive movement that is out there will always be taken to the places where it will work against its original intent. Okay, let me just stop here for a moment. So we have 561 people. Thank you very much for all this. As you see, the human society is a complicated soup of everything, of agendas. Now, of course, the huge agenda, and I mentioned this already here, is a topic to do with food and diet, and Mari talks about this as well. I'm not going to talk about the obvious agendas there, about GMOs and additives, and many of them that have to do with dropping of the fertility rates and making people sick. As you know all this, but do look up food and diet video made by made by Mari Swaruu, because this is another very important area that they have to control. And also veganism. Okay, again, this is a video in itself. If you are wondering what did Taigetan say about this, if you are not aware yet, well, go to the video we made a while back, Taigetan opinion about veganism and how it is another agenda. Again, natural instincts of the star seeds to avoid eating animals, because the majority of the races out there don't eat meat. If they do, it's artificially grown, nothing to do with artificial growth of meat on Earth, like urmas and positive alpha dracos. But most of them are vegan. So we have that memory in us. We bring it here as star seeds, and we are here, and we know we are here to transform the society, right? We are here to influence with our higher density ideas. That's what we want. So one of those ideas is not eat animals. We think it is so beautiful what we are bringing in here, and it is. That's where it becomes complicated, because they're again using that innate protection over animals that is so ingrained in all of us against the human population. And again, we're not saying that it is for everybody to eat meat. You have to listen to your body and just be balanced in what you feel you need, because everybody has different needs. It is very, again, complicated and controversial subject, because there is no one specific diet made for everybody, because we are all different. So look at that video and get information on that topic, and then create your own diet based on what you feel is best for you. But do not feel guilty if you feel you want to eat meat. I know it's hard for many of us, even for myself. I do eat meat, but I do not like the idea of. I would love to have the technology of the artificial meat production, of course, advanced production. So that's on this topic. It's also to do with the reduction of the two-legged creatures. Okay, but again, for details, visit that video. Now, the next, okay. I have a fun fact here for you, or fun fact, many of you could be wondering, what do Taigetans say at home about Mari, about their princess queen? She was just crowned not long ago. What do they say about Mari eating meat? Because she has different needs, and that was explained by her as well. And her needs have to do with the fact that she is no longer Taigetan, that's one. And also because she has very deep ties with Earth. What do they think about that? How do they view it? Because they are a vegan society. So I asked Athena, I think, some time ago about this. Because I thought maybe they are like shocked about this. Well, apparently they are not. And they are open to revisiting their own diets. As you know, the Taigetans in general are open to changing and modification of their worldviews, and if they have new data, they always encourage that, and we always talk about this. If there is a new data that supports something different, well, let's listen. So they're apparently very open, and they feel they are like, the Mari Swaruu is like one of their role models right now. So they are considering, some of them, considering the adaptation of their diet, as I understand. Of course, they're not going to be going out there and shooting animals. They will have other ways of meat, to obtain meat. I don't know details on this yet. This was just said about a month ago or something, that they are open to listen. So that's a side point on this side point. Okay, before we continue to the next very interesting agenda, we have some more. Okay, stay with me. Okay, let me just see the chat. Everything is okay. Now, this agenda has to do with audio. And Mari talks about audio and music conspiracy detected. And this is a very interesting agenda that I didn't think of. I wonder how many of you actually came up with that yourselves. But as you know, music industry is manipulated. We all know that. I'm not going to go into that. I'm going to go into the sound quality systems agenda. As you know, sound, frequency, vibration behind creation of everything. Sound is very important. Actually, matter itself manifests using harmonics of a frequency. And they have discovered, they have detected that the sound quality is going down in the human society. People are not using the stereo sound anymore. They are using Bluetooth, digital music, cell phones, listening to music through cell phones. Sometimes you can get a stereo sound through headphones, but the problem here is that it only saturates your ear. It doesn't bathe your whole body. How it used to be when people used to listen to the music through their stereo systems. And I have to admit, I have to say this myself. I do when I have to, like if I'm outside. I don't like to listen to music through the headphones. Matthias, for example, walks around the apartment and always with headphones. And he's listening to stuff. And I always tell him, why don't you just put it on, like, in the air? I don't like to use headphones, and I didn't like it even before Mari said this, because I felt like it was just going to my brain, like it was like literally just affecting my ears and here, but my body wasn't listening to it. I always put the music on through the speakers. I don't have a stereo sound because I feel like the whole body is receiving the frequency. So this is what she is referring to here. So invest in a good, this is something you can do. In some of these agendas, if you are aware of them, you can apply solutions. Like, for example, try to listen to music in a high quality stereo sound. Because astral entities, and this has to do with the astral entities here as well, don't like high vibrational music and the quality. So they discovered, Taigetans, that if the music is not played through the speakers in your house, it is easier to invade that house. Now, the genre is not so important as much as the interpretation of the music you give it, what effect it has on you, because the genre of the music, that's very subjective. But if you saturate and you bathe your home with high quality stereo sound system and frequencies, that could even repel some of the astral entities. The music they did mention that they discovered that does repel the entities is the classical music. So they say this: removing good sound stereo devices and equipment favors dark entity infestations and also promotes health issues and problems in the general population, as the benefits of sound, frequency, and music for the body and the soul are vastly underrated on Earth. A lot of their healing modalities are done through the sound. Sound, very important. Okay, now let's take this off the screen. I am not going to go into other agendas such as movies. Mari talks about the movies where they create these idols and trends. There are nothing but organic portals. And through many of these trends, if we give too much attention to that or watching rituals through the movies, etc., or through the series, it could be that we are also giving rights of pass to some of these entities. So be careful what you watch, but this is a very kind of obvious agenda that I know you are aware of, so I'm going to skip that, but do watch the video Mari made on movies. She made that as well. Now, let's go back to food. Let's go back to food, because here we have another very interesting agenda which many of you didn't know, for sure. And this is the replicated food. Now that's crazy. As you know, food cannot be replicated, right? They have replicators on board, And many people sometimes say, why can't they just replicate the food? No, you can't, because all these different molecules and biological structure and life itself in that food cannot be reproduced by the machine. That's the limitation. This is the limit. But apparently Cabal does it. Okay, let me stop for a second. We know that they put all kinds of additives to food to keep people sick. There are all kinds of reasons behind that, reduction of two-legged creatures as well. Of course, people don't associate their illnesses with that because, again, it's a cumulative effort here. Sometimes it takes years for any symptoms to appear. So again, people don't connect the dots. Now, Mari explains that the Cabal uses synthetic foods, stuff that mimics the real food, such as, for example, rice from China. It's not real, it's synthetic. But what they also do is they use secret technology, secret to the people, replicated food. And you can't replicate food, but they do it, and they sell it as food. Let me explain this here by the quote by Mari. Food is a very complex structure filled with innumerable different chemical, organic, and biological components, which the replicator machine cannot copy and will only replace them with whatever is in its inventory, usually texturized latex or styrene plastic. Even the best replicator machines will not be able to copy food well because of another problem as well. The molecular structure of many nutrients, such as vitamins and amino acids, tends to be printed inversely as a mirror image version of the original. So you see what you get as a result of replicating food, and this is what the Cabal sells to people. Of course, they are not telling you they are using this technology, but they do. How can you recognize that? Well, Mari explains that a lot of these things are even replicated with the jar itself. Crazy, not just the food, but the whole jar, a marmalade or something. So they usually sell them in very large quantities for a very, very tiny price in the big supermarkets, in the huge chains. Super large quantities, small price tag, and a far expiration date. I'm sorry. I've been talking and rambling. Far expiration date. So look out for these. This is, again, something you can do to avoid these products. Large quantities, small price, and super big supermarket chains, far expiration date. So I'm not saying all of that will be replicated, but it's very high probability that it is. And of course, all of this, let me just take this off the screen. Of course, all of this is to do with, on the topic of health, with genetic maneuvering that is disguised. And here I'm talking about papayas, for example. So again, they are using here genetics against the human population. Again, potentially linked to removing of the two-legged creatures strategies under the guise of the health intervention. I know I jumped from replicated food to this, but because I have to go swiftly through this and because it's all connected anyway. So there are all these different health interventions, as you know, which it is a guise for the genetic maneuvering. One of those agendas there here is to disconnect body and soul, to prevent the entry of advanced star seeds and to cause more suffering, of course, as a result. Autism has to do with this as well, where it's very hard for the souls to interface with the body. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about this because this is also a very, very, very huge topic. Let's take a very short break. Let me have some water. Everything okay in the chat? The chat is alive, okay? Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Let's continue with our agendas here. I don't have much more to go, but there's still some stuff. Now remember that one of their biggest agendas is is to keep people isolated from what's happening outside Earth. Is to keep people thinking that they are alone in the universe. This is huge, because if they know about the ETs and about the ET reality, it collapses the whole matrix as a self-contained realm. It collapses everything here. It collapses all these different agendas that they have for this place. So in order to continue with all these agendas, well, they have to keep the people in a self-contained, isolated from space reality. So even events that involve extraterrestrials are usually covered up or misrepresented to the public as other types of events. By the way, some of these sentences I am using from Mari Swaruu. If Mari is watching and recognizing her writing, this is her, because I have notes from her videos, okay? So I'm looking at the notes here. Like, for example, this is from her. Incidents involving ETs are often covered up or misrepresented to the public as other types of events. And many times Galactic Federation is involved in that as well. Again, many times something may be even coming out to the public, and they are directly and actively involved in covering that up or changing the human perception of that as something else. Because remember, the ET subject is one of the most controlled subjects there is. It has to be. It has to be. Because with the truth coming out on the ET subject, everything else collapses. All these different agendas that we've been talking about will have to collapse on themselves, be strongly redesigned here. So they have to throw in tons of confusing and contradicting information in order to keep people in this isolation. And in order for the people to be incapable to discern what's true and what's false. Because remember, just as our strategy here and the Taigetans, when they want to come into the social media and flood the social media soon at some point with their influence, well, the opposite side does the same, if not even more, of course. So you have to be aware of that. Taigetans coming in, influencing with their information. Well, the dark side does exactly the same. And of course, it cannot come out and say, we are from the dark side, now we are going to influence you with dark seeds. They have to disguise as something else. So you cannot discern, obviously. You know, all these things I know you know, and you know more even than me. But I'm making the summary here. Now, another agenda here, another plan, another tendency, another way to guide people's perception here to continue feeding the entities, and this has to do with more with the entities, is making people believe that the paranormal doesn't exist. Mari talks about this a lot, about the paranormal and astral. As I said in the beginning, the negative entities don't want to know they are there. They don't want you to know and be aware of their existence because they want to continue to exploit you. So one of the official truths is that paranormal, that's all woo-woo. It doesn't exist. Because, for example, okay, and while themselves, the controllers, are deeply involved in all kinds of shady rituals, and the goal of these rituals is many times not only treaties with those entities, but to lower the general frequency of the planet, again, to become a frequency match to those entities, just like they do with the atomic kitten plants, with their rituals, everything to feed those energies for different types of agreements they have with them. Opening portals, like, for example, you know what kind of a huge official portal in Europe, that's also for opening portals. And here, obvious agenda, of course, they need to keep producing fearful events in the perception of the humans in order to keep feeding those energies, those entities, because obviously you know that they feed on our fear. It has to be consistent, it has to be focused. That's why when you open a TV, all you hear is accidents and fires and tragedies and murders. They need to consistently feed you with dramatic fear-based events. because it has to be a focused energy, consistent every day. And that's why they bombard humans with that, and that's why they continue to create stressful events, suffering, people struggling for survival. That feeds the entities. It's not just for the soul growth, like the Federation uses that excuse, which of course it is also. It doesn't contradict, but again, they are using that as an excuse, we believe. And I'm very, 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 very close to the end, but something very interesting Mari goes into that does have to do with all these different agendas is creating false history, both on Earth and in space. That's also something, another tool they resort to in order to control the population. They create false histories. You know, as the saying, history is written by the victors, where not only, as Mari says, it is written by the victors, it is completely altered and fabricated. And some of it is completely erased, like it is in the case of Tartaria. And one of the heavily altered concepts here around history is timing. The timing of events, that it probably all happened in a short time span as it is presented. Again, this has to do with the resets. Again, this is a huge topic, and Mari talks about the resets as well, and a lot. And it has to do with erasing of civilizations, restoring them to the certain point where they want people to be. Again, to control them, to guide how the population goes and where they wanted to go. This is a huge topic. As if you watched Mari's videos on this, you will understand that this is a big topic. Many times, even when they go and they restore ruins, for example, officially, it has to do with modification of those ruins in order to fit with the new narrative. And they take advantage of the fact that there is a low or none remembrance of past lives. So they slowly insert these new narratives into the society, erase the past, create new stories, restoration of ruins to modify them to fit with the new idea. And it has to do with the soft resets, destruction of the past, where they also insert these specialists where they go and they interpret the ancient writings. But those specialists are very often inserted by them. So it does have to do with the soft reset, and Mari explains that we are actually, if not in the middle, but toward the end of one of those resets. Why can't they go to the Federation archives and check what's happening, what really happened in the history? Well, they can't rely on the Federation archives, as Mari explains. And as we explained in the past, the Federation is not to be trusted. And many of the civilizations that they believe existed, like Tartaria, is missing in the Federation archives. So they believe that the directive to erase it had to come from there. And they're also misguiding other ET races. Because believe it or not, as I always say, the matrix extends into space. As below, so above. It's not that it is just happening here and there, it's just all truth and light. There are levels of deceptions happening also there. Of course, it's not the same. They are not using the same methods. They are not using aircraft contaminants and all that, but they have more, subtle ways of imposing ideas on those other ET races. And one of them, for example, is manipulating the archives, because many of these races rely on those archives. And some of you might ask, why can they jump in time to know what really happened in the history? Well, this was explained also. It's not that easy. First of all, they don't use dates to jump. They use frequencies, frequency maps. So it has nothing to do with the calendars. And even if they did use calendars, which they don't, throughout the history, there are just so many different types of calendars. Every culture almost has different ways of counting their time. Even now, Chinese calendar doesn't correspond to our calendar. etc. But here Mari explains why they cannot just jump to know these historical events. You may jump to one place in time and history. You might do that, but and you may still think that you are in such a year in the past, but wrongly, because once more, the dating system used in the frequency maps does not match the official calendar, and the translation from one system to another is a real mess. This is just one sentence. She explains this very well in her videos, and we also have the videos about that as well, I think. So go to time travel playlist on my channel, where I explain the time travel problems. So again, the agenda behind the resets, erasure of history, has to do with keeping the Earth as an isolation realm. That's where the resets are applied, and whether you like it or not, the Federation is behind it. The Federation is behind it. Now, to finish this, we are like almost 2 hours in this. In one of Mari's videos, it was Toleka News. One second, please. It was one of the Toleka News. It was Space News number 16, I think, if I got it right. Just to finish this off with something more positive. They have detected that people are saying no to agendas. They explain that positive timeline has been detected. Of course, it's not the end of it all. We are still in the middle of this conflict. The Orion Wars continue on, and this is not ending anytime soon. And of course, there is not just one or two timelines. There is no split into two Earths, but there's just a mesh of different possibilities here. It's too simplistic to say just two. But they have detected that it seems like people are saying no to many of these agendas, which might indicate that the positive timeline will be manifesting collectively for the linked up souls. So if people are saying no to many of these agendas, even metaphysically, like I said, it reinforces the positive collective unconscious of the awakened people. And with that, they are intensifying the positive timeline. And Mari here explains again, remember, they can't proceed if we say no. So they can't just impose things. And the proof of that is the level of and effort behind manipulations disguised as something else, all aiming to confuse and control people to agree to whatever they want. This demonstrates the power people have. This is what Mari said. So you see, this is the power we have. They know they cannot proceed if we say no collectively. And again, I'll repeat this because it reinforces the positive collective unconscious of the awakened people. Because they know if they come and openly say what's in their agendas, people will say no. And they know they will have to respect that. So they have to place all these different agendas in disguise, so people cannot say no because they don't know, because they are not aware. And then they are going to use the excuse to the Galactic Federation, say, but we told them, we explained this in this and this movie, look, it's all there. But the people don't know. People don't connect the dots. So they cannot use that as an excuse. But my point is, the amount of manipulations here presented in this live, and there are so many more agendas, of course, it shows how much they worry about us saying no. They have to do their utmost to disguise these agendas because they know that once we know, we say no, and then it will have to be respected, even by cosmic laws. That's why it's so important to be aware, to apply modifications to your life, like with audio systems and food and all that, as much as you can, and then metaphysically be aware and not consent. So let me go to the chat. That's pretty much it, what I had for this video. Remember, there are a lot more videos. I actually have the whole playlist in my channel called Cabal Agendas. where I mix all the videos that I made in the past, and there are also Mari's videos there as well. And I know she will continue because this is nowhere being finished. Okay, she will continue exposing the agendas. We will, but this is what I gathered so far. What do you think? 548 people in the chat. Thank you very much for being here. You've been here with me almost 2 hours, so I appreciate that. If you saw me going fast through many of these things, it's because, well, I had to. I couldn't go in details, but like I said, visit the videos. Anyway, I'm repeating myself now. Let's see what we are seeing in the chat. I'm going to see the chat later on to see what you said. I didn't have opportunity much to look. Yes, Ascension 2020 says Gosha is on the roll. I was on the roll because I was worried that it's going to take me so much time to go through this. Now I have to repeat this in Spanish tomorrow. Thank you very much, moderators, Mick Flair, Eva Carolina, Lyrian versus the Matrix, and everybody in the chat who is watching. I always say this. I always have to say this, of course, because I am very grateful for all of you. Share the video around, because it is all obvious to some of you, to many of you who are watching this channel and Mari Swaruu channel, but this is not obvious to other people. So share it so other people can have this encapsulated vision of all these different agendas. Thank you, guys. Let me just have some water. The Swaruu.org is not working. Let me check. Hi, Pietro, and greetings. Our website, yeah, something is not working. You're right, but it's okay. It comes and goes. Or maybe it's targeted. I don't know. But for sure, it's going to come up. Don't worry about that. So that's about it. I don't want to be answering any more questions right now. Not to take away from the concentrated energy field that we have created around this topic. I don't want to digress the conversations into anything else. We are all united now with the intention of we do not consent, and with the intention to create a positive timeline, at least easier challenges timeline for all of us and for all souls who are interested in incarnating in this realm. I'm going to be here for like a few moments more just to see your comments, just to acknowledge you a little bit, and then I will disconnect. My voice is breaking up. I need to recover it before tomorrow. Thank you, Anthony. Smash the like button, everyone. Thanks. Share the video around, okay? Thank you very much for your contributions, by the way. Molika, thanks. I wasn't able to see, but thank you. Thank you for your positive donations also. I never had the opportunity to say it because I'm kind of shy, but thank you for that. I always receive everything. I also try to send thank you notes like Seek, but I do it through the PayPal there directly. I'm not sure if it reaches you. I never get any responses, so I don't know if it reaches you, but I do send it anyway. Stuart says already shared. Great, thanks. Thank you very much, Priya, our newest addition to the moderators. I hope the chat was okay and positive. Emila is asking, are you going to make new videos about something else? Yes, of course. I have many of them in the line. I don't have super new information there. Maybe some, but I'm mixing it up now with the older information. Like, for example, now I want to make a video about Susie. This is a continuation of an Interstellar Life series. I made a video about Toleka, about scimitar fighter crafts, about discoidal ships, anecdotes on a ship that was part of the Interstellar Life. And I want to make it about Susie now, but I need some updated information on that as well, because I want to add to that the info about super Susies. These are super new arrived Susies with some added technologies. Not all of it is declassified. So, but I do want to get some updates on that. Of course, a huge topic about Yasky that's still in the development. And actually, my next video that I want to make is about something that Mari mentioned in her videos, and it was mentioned in the past, but I want to make it into the video now. It's about this strange, mysterious Lemurian ship that's been floating in space around Earth, and Mari talked about it, that it's going to be investigated what it is. So it is a conversation with Anneka where she's talking about that old ancient Lemurian ship that found its way into this present timeline here, present time in the orbit of the Earth. So a little bit more information about that. Okay, guys, thank you very much again. I'm going to disconnect, rest, see the chat, and continue on. Thank you, guys. I'm disconnecting right now. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.